Remember last winter how tough it was to get gasoline here in South Palm Beach County? Some customers waited in lines 2 miles long to fill up their tanks at any price. Some service station owners, trying to stretch their monthly allocations, shut down their pumps 2 or 3 days a week. Real or contrived, there was an acute gasoline shortage. But just look at what a difference a couple of months can make. Today the lines are gone. In fact, gasoline has become a glut on the market. As a result, dealers who were fighting off customers in February are cutting prices and in some cases offering 24-hour service trying to buy them back today. We have what might be considered a price war of sorts here in South County. Our Channel 12 at random sampling showed a difference of up to 12 cents a gallon on all grades of fuel, proving it pays to shop around. Just how long will prices stay at the current competitive levels? When you talk to two different people, you get two different answers.
I think they're stable right now because, like, our unleaded went down a penny, and I think beginning of the year they said it was going to go up to about $1.50, and it never did. I think it's going to stay right around here, go down a little bit.
They'll be rising again, well, especially with peak season coming. They'll start going up the end of August.
One might ask whatever happened to that old law of supply and demand. In spite of a record stockpile of fuel, oil company executives told Congress yesterday gas prices will remain high. All of this is discouraging news to Florida motorists who have saved 3.5 million barrels of fuel this year by driving less. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano, Channel 12 News. The special status easing the way for thousands of refugees to live in this country puts Haitians and Cubans on an equal footing and should put to rest any charges of discrimination. The program is designed to allow time for all refugees to find jobs and to establish residency in the United States, while at the same time giving the administration time to submit special legislation to Congress outlining the permanent status of the immigrants. At a news conference in Boca Raton today, U.S. Attorney General Benjamin Civiletti talked about the type of legislation under consideration.
The type of legislation that would be required would be legislation dealing with status for Cubans and Haitians on the same terms because of the situation we're now in. It would apply only to those here, and it would be subject to conditions of entry which now exist, and it would provide for certain benefits which are people who are immigrants or who are refugees are entitled to for a period of time, say a year or 18 months or something of that kind, and it would provide a reimbursement of some percentage to state and local agencies or governments.
The newly announced parole status does not apply to refugees with criminal records. Civiletti said they will continue to be subject to detention and deportation hearings. The 6-month parole extension only applies to those refugees already in the United States. Any arriving illegally after June 19th, yesterday, will be subject to deportation in accordance with regular immigration laws. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano, Channel 12 News. Thousands of Boca Raton residents have signed their name to a petition asking that the city take over control of the state-owned local airport. The petition, circulated by a concerned citizens group, was presented to members of City Council today.
The petition has really two statements. First, that the petitioners request the governor and cabinet to convey the control or the ownership of the airport back to the city of Boca Raton. And secondly, it pronounces the citizens' objections to any capital improvements to the airport that would either increase the size of aircraft or enlarge the amount of traffic that can be handled at the airport.
The Airport Awareness Group feels that the Board of Regents, who currently own the airstrip, have enough to do running the state's university system, and that they don't belong in the business of running an airport.
As it is now, the control of the airport of present operations is in the hands of the Board of Regents, and they're somewhere else. And that's one of our concerns, too, because the Board of Regents don't have statutory authority for controlling an airport.
According to Rowe, it's now up to city officials to reflect on the mandate of the 7,200 people who signed the petition, and he's urging that the city carries its fight for control of the airport all the way to Governor Graham. Meantime, the city of Boca Raton filed contempt charges today against the Del Trail Fire Department for $50,000 in delinquent fire hydrant rental fees. Even though Del Trail has failed to pay the long overdue bill, Boca Assistant Attorney Frank Bartolone said he'll take the case all the way to the Supreme Court to avoid a water shutoff to some 300 hydrants serving residents in the unincorporated area west of Boca Raton. Del Trail officials say they haven't paid the overdue bill because they feel the fees are unreasonable. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. The impact of the phenomenal growth here in the South County is having an effect on the Boca Raton Community Hospital. The 300-bed facility is currently operating at overcapacity. In fact, last night, 8 patients were left in holding units when the hospital ran out of bed space.
Certainly, Boca has been growing at an astronomical rate, and the hospital facilities have just not been able to keep up with the large influx of patients to our area. We're running right now over 37% more patients than we were this same time last year.
Of mounting concern now is if the facility is running out of bed space in June, a normally slow month, what will happen during the height of the season next year?
We are trying to streamline some of our admission and discharge procedures, hopefully to enable us to turn the beds over more quickly. It's going to be tough when it gets into the season.
Immediate expansion plans call for the addition of approximately 49 beds to the existing facility. However, Nordmark was quick to point out another new facility will have to be built to service western sections of Boca Raton. To put it simply, as it stands now, the Boca Raton Hospital is no longer able to meet the growing needs of this community. The Sheriff's Department is still trying to identify an apparent murder victim. According to police, the nude body of a white female in her mid-20s with black hair and brown eyes was found floating in the Hillsborough Canal west of Boca Raton late yesterday. Indications are that the body, which was weighted down, had been in the canal for a couple of days. Anyone with information is asked to call the Sheriff's Department at 837-2727. Well, it's back to the bargaining table as talks continue between the city and the Boca Raton Fire Department. Both sides are still far apart. The firemen want a 25% pay hike. The city has offered a 2.5% increase. It'll be determined at a meeting tonight whether an impasse between the two sides has been reached. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. The city of Boca Raton has adopted a 6-month water conservation program, one that puts strong emphasis on voluntary cutbacks. The program will be evaluated on a continuing basis by the city's newly appointed water conservation coordinator.
Last night, Council authorized the initiation of the plan to institute a water conservation program, and they authorized funds for it, and they also authorized the Environmental Advisory Board as a public citizens input board to review the program before we get it started. So that's our current posture, and right now we're reviewing projects that have been done in California and have been done in various parts of the United States.
Even though heavy rains during the past few weeks have eased the shortage for the time being, Boca Raton will face water capacity problems for the next 3 years until a new treatment plant can be put online. Well, the union representing the city's firefighters met last night. They've come up with a counter-proposal to their wage demands. These will be presented to the city at a bargaining session scheduled for Friday morning. Boca Raton firemen, who had originally asked for an 18% cost of living hike plus a 7% increase in combat pay for 3-year veterans, have now adjusted their demands downward. According to Union President Jerry Cochran, the men are willing to continue with good faith bargaining. However, he said, if the city sticks to its 2.5% pay hike offer, the dispute could end up in arbitration. A hearing will be held on September 9th before Governor Graham to review a request that the city of Boca Raton take over control of the airport from the Florida Board of Regents. Earlier this week, a petition circulated by the Airport Awareness Group and signed by 7,200 local residents urging city takeover was presented to members of council. State officials had turned down the city's initial appeal, stating that it did not seem to be in order under current circumstances. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. The hefty increase in the nation's jobless rate means another 889,000 people are out of work, most of the layoffs coming from the sagging auto and steel industries. Plants continue to shut down. Steel orders were off a whopping 20% this week. And according to a steel industry spokesman I talked with in Boca Raton, unfair foreign competition is at least partially responsible for the current slump.
It's not just the steel coming in, the raw steel or the finished steel to be made into products. there's just as much steel coming in foreign automobiles. Every time the foreign cars come in, they're bringing in as much steel. And if you look very carefully at this entire recession that we're in, one of the big bases of it is the automotive imports, as well as others.
Would you like to see an embargo on foreign car imports?
No, but I would like to see fair trade, not as well as free trade. The automotive industry normally takes 23 to 24% of the steel product. This year, they'll only take about 15%. The only way they can keep themselves in a profitable position is to get rid of old facilities. You only have to look at Youngstown, Ohio, to see just in a city that size where they've laid off 15,000 workers. That translated into well over 100,000 people who were directly or indirectly affected by the shutting of the plants.
According to Gillum, the domestic steel industry is in worse shape now than it was before World War II, which he said is further proof the recession's wallop is a lot worse than first expected. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. If you live in Boca Raton and would like to cut your water bill by as much as 50% or more, you might want to participate in a unique program designed by the city's water conservation specialists.
Well, the city is looking for volunteers. We need 40 of them to participate in a demonstration which we hope will prove to homeowners that they can save water and maintain their green grass. 20 of the control group will use a water-sensitive device. It's an electronically sensitive device that will be buried in the ground and attached to the sprinkler system timer. And this device can determine whether or not your lawn needs watering.
While half the group will use the electronic device, the other 20 volunteers will work closely with the University of Florida grass specialist, who will tell the homeowners exactly when to water their lawns. The year-long program will get underway as soon as volunteers can be recruited. If you're interested in signing up, you can call Candy Bridgewater at 395-1110. An early morning fire completely gutted the curtain and bedspread shop on East Palmetto Park Road in Boca Raton. The blaze broke out shortly after 1 o'clock this morning. Firemen were still on the scene late this afternoon.
It's total. The whole building's total. The owner gave us a rough figure of about $130,000 for contents. I don't know about the structural damage yet.
The cause of that fire is still under investigation. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Police are theorizing there may be a link between two bank holdups in the South County this afternoon. First one occurred shortly before 2 o'clock at the Sun Bank on Federal Highway in Delray Beach. The suspect pulled up to a teller at a drive-in window demanding an undetermined amount of cash. The driver of the car was last seen heading south on Federal. Then about 45 minutes later, a second holdup took place at the First Marine Bank on North Federal in Boca Raton. According to reports, a white male driving a dark-colored sedan drove up to the teller's window, demanding money and threatening to set off an explosive device. An undetermined amount of cash was taken. Time is running out for the Del Trail Fire Department to pay the city of Boca Raton $50,000 it owes in water hydrant rental fees. Unless the full amount is paid before this Friday, City Attorney Frank Bartolone says he'll go to court to file contempt charges against the unincorporated area west of the city. Del Trail attorneys won't say whether they'll meet the June 6 deadline, but they do admit their biggest concern at the moment is that the city doesn't shut off water service to the 305 hydrants in the district. Boca Raton police have called off their investigation into the murder of a Colombian national whose body was found stuffed in the trunk of a rental car in the Palmetto Park Square shopping center May 15th. Although they can't confirm it, authorities believe the victim, who was stabbed more than 30 times, is Luis Mario Arenas, a member of the so-called Cocaine Cowboys. In other news, state officials now say the only way a night curfew can be imposed at the Boca Raton airport is if pilots agree to comply voluntarily. The FAA has already turned down a request to ban after-dark takeoffs and landings, even though the Board of Regents, who own the airport, feel a curfew would help reduce both noise and illegal drug smuggling. And finally, Deerfield Beach city officials are still waiting for an engineering report to determine why the roof at City Hall fell down yesterday. Without warning, a 50-foot section of the 3-foot wide overhang on the south end of the building crashed a story and a half to the sidewalk shortly after noontime. There were no injuries and no damage estimate has been released. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. An increasing number of non-native fish from other continents have been showing up in South Florida waters, and their potential to cause significant environmental problems has generated considerable concern among the state's game commissioners. A special research lab was set up in Boca Raton to keep tabs on a variety of aliens.
We're interested in studying the impact of non-native fish on the endemic species of fish to Florida and trying to determine what their spread might be and ways of potential control.
Among the 15 species under observation at the lab is a South American electric eel, which has the ability to discharge up to 550 volts of electricity.
They're capable of killing horses, and the one that you're witnessing there, where you touch them, could probably knock you back across the room, and if somebody had a bad heart, would potentially kill them.
The walking catfish found its way to Florida all the way from Thailand. It's another of the exotic species being studied at the Boca Research Lab.
They can move just as well on dry land, but if their skin dries out, they dry out and die.
According to the project director, the future of Florida's sport fisheries is presently being threatened by non-native fish. Work at the research lab will continue in an effort to provide answers to why these aliens are able to survive in local waters. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Rapid residential and commercial growth in Boca Raton has created a serious water shortage, one that will exist for at least the next 3 years when a new water treatment plant will be built, or at least until the city can come up with a workable water conservation program. A recent proposal outlined by City Manager Jim Zumwalt called attention to the fact that a lot of water could be saved if homeowners curtailed unnecessary lawn sprinkling. Case in point, today in Boca Raton, during heavy downpours, it was not uncommon to see sprinkler systems going full blast. According to Bill Smith, chief operator of the water plants, it's not only homeowners who have their automatic water sprinklers going rain or shine, but commercial establishments are guilty as well. As Smith put it, it's this sort of irresponsibility that's going to force the city to implement a get-tough policy that could curtail water sprinkling to 3 days a week. The question of whether the Del Trail Fire Department will have to pay the city of Boca Raton $50,000 in delinquent water hydrant fees is obviously going to now be decided in the courts. Assistant City Attorney Frank Bartolone said he'll file a motion to hold Del Trail in contempt of a 1977 ruling which ordered Del Trail to pay a 3-year-old bill it owed Boca Raton. Bartolone said even though the city has the option of shutting off water to the district as it did in '77, it's a move that's not being given serious consideration at this time. Del Trail was given until last Friday to pay up or face the contempt charges. Well, a grievance hearing is scheduled for tomorrow afternoon at Florida Atlantic University to hear complaints from faculty members concerning teacher evaluations. The charges, latest in a series of discrimination suits filed against the university, are without basis, according to FAU President Glenwood Creech.
Anything that is going to be reviewed by officials outside the institution should get a fair hearing, and we don't think we are guilty of discriminating.
The teachers filing the grievances are members of the United Faculty of Florida, and if the complaints are not settled at tomorrow's hearing, the next step will be to call for a hearing before the Board of Regents in Tallahassee. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. If you're in the market for a new car, boat, or plane, you might want to check with your local South County Police Department. Illegal drug busts, as indigenous to southern Florida as sun, sand, and palm trees, are helping to beef up the coffers of several municipalities through the sale of personal property confiscated in narcotics raids. For example, in the past year, the Boca Raton Police Department has seized 2 boats, 9 cars, and 6 airplanes. Once a court decides there's no legal claim to the personal property, then the city can sell it at public auction. However, this method doesn't always produce results. Deerfield Beach officials yesterday tried to sell this 48-foot sports fisherman at public auction. The John was seized last August when police arrested its crew unloading 4,000 pounds of marijuana at a canal front home. The 1976 fully equipped pacemaker sold for $250,000 brand new. Deerfield officials hope to get at least $100,000 for the craft. However, there were no buyers.
100,000 was the bid. Anyone want to call out a second bid so we can go ahead with the sale of it? Otherwise, the auction sale will be over. What do you say, Chief?
Attorney says we'll have to re-advertise.
That's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
The officials may lower their sights when the drug boat goes back on the auction block next Thursday morning. The sale will take place June 26th, 10 a.m. in City Commission chambers. Meantime, residents of the Chatelaine section of Delray Beach are upset today because they failed to get their new recreation facility. At a 3-2 vote last night, City Council rejected a proposal to purchase the 7-acre swim and tennis club. Chatelaine homeowners who failed to raise self-supporting funds came up with a counter-proposal which was also rejected.
Council ignored us, and the council showed us, at least the 3 members who carried the vote, showed us that they are not interested in taking care of the children or the residents of West Delray.
We're very disappointed with council because we feel that we've shown them a way that it could be self-supporting, and they say that the money is there to buy it. It's a buy of a lifetime, and they're turning it down.
The owner of the property, Delray Beach attorney James Nolan Jr., was out of town today and unavailable for comment. He had given the city until yesterday to meet his $130 price. Speculation now, and a church may be built on the site. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. People seem to be going about their business as usual today at this quiet little shopping center in Lighthouse Point, where an armed robbery yesterday at a jewelry store left a police officer wounded and a suspect dead. However, it'll probably be some time before 77-year-old John Reddy, who owns the Beacon Light jewelry store, gets over the traumatic episode.
My first thought, I have a gun here, and I got my gun, and I ran up front, because I didn't want him to raise back up and shoot this officer again, in case he wasn't dead. As soon as I looked at him, I knew didn't need me, he had it. This officer shot him 2 or 3 times.
The robber shot the officer first?
Yeah, and then he started out the door, and the officer shot him. Shot him from laying position. It's terrific.
This is the spot where Sergeant James Soronsky and the robber exchanged gunfire. Soronsky was hit 3 times in the hip, arm, and leg. His doctors won't allow him to talk about his ordeal from his room at Cypress Community Hospital, where he's listed in satisfactory condition. Meanwhile, the dead suspect has been identified as 31-year-old Thomas Umschneider of 1772 Northeast 27th Street in Pompano Beach. According to police, Umschneider had a previous criminal record. His accomplice got away in a 1975 stolen green Lincoln 4-door sedan with a Florida license plate MFD 924. Tony Biviano got a good look at him as he sped north on Federal Highway.
I was standing at the window, and at the time we were a little slow, and there was no one in front of me. And all of a sudden I saw this dark green Continental 4-door pull out of the parking lot going very fast, and he floored it immediately when he got on Federal going north. And I had a direct side view of the man. He was by himself, and he was a white male about 32 to 35 years old. He had kind of light brown hair about my length, but it was sort of scraggly with a bushy mustache. And he looked to be thin rather than heavy.
An intense search for the suspect and the getaway car is continuing. It's no doubt only coincidence that the Beacon Drugs next door to the jewelry store was robbed early this morning. A window was smashed and an undetermined amount of hard narcotics were taken. Dave Andrews, who was an eyewitness to yesterday's robbery, manages the pharmacy. He blames a malfunctioning alarm system for the break-in. From the South County Bureau in Lighthouse Point, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. A crackdown on street-level drug trafficking in Boca Raton has netted 25 arrests in the past 2 days. The bust culminated a 5-month investigation which involved numerous drug buys by organized crime unit undercover agents. The more than 24 suspects are all local residents. They range in age from 15 to 34.
most or all of them were booked in late Tuesday night, and the remainder of those 25 were booked into the Palm Beach County Jail Wednesday night, and some have bonded out at this time.
Any more arrests expected?
As I said, an additional 20 arrests are expected. We have obtained arrest warrants for some, and we'll obtain the remainder of those 20 arrest warrants shortly.
Investigation centered around the Crown Lounge on North Federal Highway, a favorite hangout for young people in Boca. In fact, one police source says the popular night spot is commonly called the Crown Lounge Drugstore.
We confiscated marijuana, cocaine, LSD, and quaaludes, methaqualone.
We've heard reports of phony speed popping up in Broward County. Any evidence that any of it's here in South Palm Beach County?
Some of our controlled undercover buys did obtain some of the phony speed. It was either antihistamines or caffeine tablets.
Police officials have reason to believe that the LSD and some of the speed is being manufactured locally, and that the recent string of drug arrests could lead to bigger drug busts. The latest effort is all part of an ongoing drive by Acting Police Chief Wayne Wright to clean up both major and minor drug trafficking in the community. So far this year, more than $6 million in illegal narcotics have been confiscated. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Everyone agrees we're living through a period of great social change. Divorce statistics are staggering. Many experts feel that family life in America is being threatened. Judith Viorst, a nationally syndicated author, writes about family life. She told me during a recent visit to Boca Raton that she thinks the decade of the 80s will bring more challenges, particularly to women who are experiencing what she calls a guilt dilemma.
I think the guilt dilemmas have to do with wanting to be everything, with wanting to be very, very superb mothers and wanting to be very successful in a career, and feeling that they're not whole women unless they can do it all. And it's impossible to do it all without cutting corners, and you wind up feeling very guilty.
Are you concerned about the future of the American family?
I'm very concerned about the future of the American family, because I think that we have got to solve the child care dilemma. If we're all going to go out, husbands and wives, marching out to fulfill ourselves, somebody's got to be taking care of the kids.
Why do you think the divorce rate is rising so rapidly?
I think that we have had a hard time learning that marriage is not like Kleenex and throwaway soft drink cans, that it is something that's not so easy to replace, that there are rotten, hard, difficult, painful times, and you don't take the position, hey, I'm not having a good time, goodbye, that the old ceremonial for better or worse really means that, and you've got to sit through and struggle through the tough times to come out on the other side of them.
With marriage becoming just one more disposable item in our society, Viorst predicts more dramatic changes in family life during the decade of the 80s. She says we'll see more young people just living together, more single-parent families, and more women vacating their traditional roles of homemakers in favor of a career. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Suddenly, there's a new sense of urgency to revitalize Boca Raton's Central Business District as the threat of retail competition to the west rapidly becomes a reality. While City Council grapples with the decision to declare downtown Boca a blighted area, a necessary step which must be taken before a redevelopment agency can be formed, the announcement comes that Town Center, an 800,000 square foot shopping mall, will open in less than a month. The new retail complex, located off I-95 at Glades Road, will house 3 major department stores, 123 specialty shops, 4 restaurants, and 13 fast food operations. Majestic skylights, fountains, and interior landscaping have been combined to give the center an open market feeling.
You will feel, if you've looked at the building or once you come to the building, very much that it is part of South Florida. It is Boca Raton. It is what I refer to as contemporary Addison Meisner.
Do you anticipate that this will become the center of retail trade in Boca Raton?
I think there is a concern in the community that we are going to come in and have a tremendously negative impact, and I don't believe that to be so. It hasn't been so in previous jobs that I've been involved in.
You don't believe that you're going to have a negative impact on the central business district in Boca Raton?
I don't believe so.
The opening of Town Center on August 13th will create well over 2,000 new jobs in Boca Raton. Whether or not it will have a long-range negative impact on retail growth in the central business district depends, according to the experts, on just how quickly the proposed $29 million revitalization program can be implemented in downtown Boca. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Scientists are baffled in trying to determine what is causing the fish kill along South Florida beaches. In the meantime, there's mounting public concern about the danger of possibly eating contaminated fish.
I think we should all wait and see exactly what's going to be before we go on and eat any of this type of fish that's around in the local waters.
Health Department officials say some folks have urged that all southeast fisheries be shut down until chemical testing is completed. Testing so far has ruled out the fish-killing phantom red tide, but toxaphene, a pesticide fatal to fish, is still being investigated. An area marine biologist who asked not to be identified explained that toxaphene could have some ill effects on human consumption. First off, it has no taste. Secondly, there is no way to determine by looking at a fish that it has toxaphene poisoning. And most important, eating contaminated fish would not make one ill immediately, since toxaphene is a chemical which builds up very slowly in the body tissue and has a long lifespan. The biologist said simply, until the mystery is solved, he isn't taking any chances by eating fish. And there are others here in the South County who share his concern.
I think it's going to hit the South Floridians, particularly the people that are retired, and for health reasons that they're eating more fish. And now what do we turn to?
We will be a little reluctant until we find out some more about it.
The fish kill scare also concerns retail merchants like Dennis Curtis, who says he's taking every precaution to make certain the fish he's selling is perfectly safe for human consumption. Until all of these tests are in, I know that there is some concern about the grouper and the snapper. Now, there are other fish that are perfectly safe, right?
Oh, quite so. There's many fish that are available to the consumer that do come from outside of the area, such as, like, in my store I have northern sole, Boston scrod, I have a mackerel that comes from up north, many different items that are out of the area. So if you do have a major concern, you can always ask your local merchant, and he can let you know exactly, what would be the safest.
Scientists studying the problem all agree they have a mystery on their hands. However, to advise the public to stop eating fish would have a devastating economic impact on the entire area. And it's agreed that that type of warning at this point is entirely premature. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Despite a worsening economy, a record number of tourists came to South Florida during the first quarter of this year. The 10 million visitors, that's a 3% increase over 1979, didn't hold back on their vacation spending either. In fact, they pumped $5.5 billion into the state's economy. That's a 20% increase over the previous year. Even though the Department of Tourism is still waiting for complete data, early reports from hotels and restaurants indicate business was up for the second quarter as well. All of which brings us to summertime here in the Sunshine State, traditionally a ho-hum season. However, things are changing. Now, if a worsening economy and steep gasoline prices might be keeping some Americans home this year, foreign visitors are picking up the slack.
They bring their families, they come as a family, or maybe 2 or 3 families rather than in large groups, such as you'll find in other parts of Florida. They stay for a much longer period of time than you would find an American traveling to Florida would do.
What is their average stay?
16 days is the average stay.
Do they spend money?
They certainly do.
The tide has turned. It used to be the American dream to visit Europe in the summertime. Now Europeans, an estimated 3 million, are expected to take to the air this summer, heading for the United States. The reasons? Well, first off, it's simple economics. Strong European currencies are giving greater purchasing power against the dollar. And then there's been the big push by the airlines. TWA, for example, reports that this year, for the very first time, more traffic will be coming from Europe than going to Europe. About 1.5 million British tourists and some 675,000 Germans will holiday in America this summer.
We have spent the last year or so acquainting ourselves with the European market, with the way it operates from a trade point of view, with what the German, English, Scandinavian traveler wants and needs, and how we have to adjust in order to be a viable product.
Even though the primary local economic impact of foreign tourism is felt in frontline industries like hotels, restaurants, and nightclubs, there's an overall ripple effect, which is making South Palm Beach County one of the best places to ride out the current recession. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. It's been 1 week since sheriff's detectives discovered the badly decomposed body of a nude woman weighted down and floating in the Hillsborough Canal west of Boca Raton. In an effort to help identify the victim, authorities called in an anthropologist and artist from Florida Atlantic University. Dr. Yassar Isjan reconstructed the face, and by working closely with artist Steve Kika, a sketch closely resembling the woman will be released to the media shortly. The team, who has assisted law enforcement officers for the past 2 years, allowed our Channel 12 cameras to record their tedious assignment.
The lips look good, I think. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And yeah, sort of a round mouth.
Would you have the cleft underneath the lips?
Yeah, the chin is fairly round and pronounced. That's how the bones are.
Doctor, are you satisfied so far that this sketch that Steve has done looks like the victim?
Well, I think that the eyes, eyebrows, and the nose shape is fairly good. We have to work on the general outline of the face. This is very difficult because the body stayed in water quite a few days.
Steve, how much of this is conjecture on your part?
Well, from what he gives me, I can get a reasonable idea, but there are some things that I just can't see, so he has to explain it to me so that I can make it more definitive as far as the illustration is concerned.
Was it your determination that the victim is quite possibly of Spanish, perhaps a mixture of Spanish and Indian origin?
Yeah, the way the pictures look like that she's of Spanish origin, could be Cuban or Mexican origin or anywhere from Central or South America, but most probably the native of the United States.
According to Isjan, the murder victim was a healthy white female about 25 years of age, of Spanish or Spanish Indian descent, with coarse black hair, brown eyes, and a round-shaped face. A medical examiner's report indicated the woman died of stab wounds to the chest. In addition, she had been beaten around the head. This is not the final drawing, which will be turned over to sheriff's detectives for nationwide distribution. However, both the artist and Isjan hope that someone might recognize the woman, even from this preliminary sketch. Anyone with information is urged to call the Sheriff's Department at 276-1301 or 837-2731. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. No one knows exactly how many Haitian refugees have settled here in South Palm Beach County. However, the numbers continue to grow. And so do the problems of helping these impoverished people adjust to their new surroundings. They need food, they need housing, they need medical care. But perhaps most of all, they need the ability to communicate. There's a language barrier, one that educators are not equipped to cope with.
Well, in view of the fact that there are very few teachers available who speak Haitian Creole, which is quite different from the French language in its sounds and in its vocabulary and in its grammar, the next best thing would at least be to get teachers who know French in the classrooms to work with these children and with the adults, because there are similarities between the Haitian Creole and the standard French language.
Doctor, what exactly is French Creole?
French Creole is a language that goes back a few hundred years to pidgin language, which was the means of communication between the African slaves in that part of the world and their French masters.
Do we have enough bilingual teachers here in South Palm Beach County to meet the immediate needs of the Haitians?
We would be more likely to have enough bilingual teachers for the Spanish-speaking population of refugees. The number of French speakers is much smaller, and to find even educated French speakers who can participate in the educational system is going to be a challenge, I think.
According to Trammell, our education system is simply not geared toward handling bilingual situations. We need teachers and we need textbooks, and at the present time, the state has no category for funding such programs. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Live theater is taking no holiday this summer in Boca Raton. In fact, the season is offering wonderful entertainment for just about everyone. For the little people, drama classes continue at the Singing Pines Museum under the direction of Caldwell Theater boss Michael Hall.
We really thought it was an exciting idea to give children an opportunity to learn about the theater and to learn some of the basics so that while a theater was being constructed, they would be the first ones to know about it and to come into it, be able to work in it. And it's a part of our philosophy that in order to develop an audience in a theater, you have to start with the young ones so they have a chance.
The pilot program is being funded by a state cultural grant. Meantime, the new 245-seat Caldwell Playhouse is now under construction in the downtown Boca Mall, with curtains scheduled to go up on the new season in November. At the Royal Palm Dinner Theater, Jan McArth's production of the award-winning mystery thriller Sleuth has been held over 2 weeks. The two-man show, which has been playing to enthusiastic sellout audiences, will now run through July 27th. And it's pure comedy at the Florida Atlantic University Theater, where Molière's The Miser and Bullshot Crumman, a spoof on the detective movies of the 30s, play in repertoire through July 26th. Nightly performances at 8:30, Sunday matinees at 2:30. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. A Delray Beach property, which housed up to 40 Haitian refugees, came under fire last week when the County Environmental Control Board cited numerous health violations and threatened a $5,000 fine unless the World Harvest for Christ mission cleaned up their property at 1020 Southwest 8th Avenue. In a matter of hours, the refugees, who had been living without indoor plumbing facilities, had packed up and moved out. And the cleanup job, which included disinfecting the grounds, got underway. This afternoon, 4 Haitians were still hard at work. Meantime, a World Harvest spokesman told Channel 12 News that even though the cleanup job outside the house is just about finished, it'll take a month or more to complete repairs on faulty wiring and plumbing indoors. He explained quite emphatically that the doors have been padlocked and no Haitians will be permitted to occupy the property until County Health Department officials give the okay. From the South County Bureau in Delray Beach, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Here in the South County, by midday, only a handful of young men eligible for draft registration had signed up with Uncle Sam. The scene at the main post office in Boca Raton was peaceful and orderly, in sharp contrast to the situation in nearby Deerfield Beach, where members of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom staged a protest and passed out leaflets saying, "We must stop the war before it starts."
We're giving out these leaflets. We're also getting petitions signed to the president saying that we're registering for peace rather than war. We have had some flack, but that's to be expected.
The constant cry heard by the demonstrators was registration leads to draft and draft leads to war.
It's always easy to say, I don't want to go to war. I didn't want to go. When I volunteered for the draft, Vietnam was going on. It's a scary, frightening proposition.
While both sides of the issue was debated on the sidewalks in front of the post office, at times tempers flared, becoming as heated as the midday sun. And passing motorists joined in with verbal attacks aimed at the demonstrators.
When the communists anchorage like everybody else. I served 4 years. Stupid dumb bastard. 4 years. But at least you could stand in the street. But if the communists come over here, you couldn't stand in the street, could you? No, but I'll tell you one thing. I wonder if some of you are not being led on and the communists are running you. You stinking bums.
Amidst the shouting, there was no attempt to stop the young men from signing up, most of them who admitted they were doing so reluctantly. In spite of sporadic heated arguments over the draft registration, there's been no violence and no arrests during the day-long demonstration in Deerfield Beach. From the South County Bureau, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. A bunch of precocious kids are making a bridge tender's life very difficult this summer in Boca Raton. While Frank Major tries to run a navigable bridge for boats going in and out of the Boca Inlet, these teenagers ignore his pleas to stay off the span. Take a close look.
We get them in bunches anywhere from about 5 to 20 to 30 at a time. They crawl up under the span, they go up with the span. When the boat passes, then it'll jump off, get a big kick out of a bigger height of jumping. But as I pointed out to you before, I almost crushed a couple of kids here about a month ago, and nobody believed it unless they've seen it.
The kids say they're out here every day. They admit their parents probably wouldn't be too happy knowing how they're spending these hot summer afternoons. But aside from that, they're only too happy to talk about their daredevil pastime.
You swim down to the catwalk, and you climb up the ladder, walk under the bridge, and then climb around it. And when the bridge goes up, you just climb up, and then when the boat's clear, you jump. You know what you're doing, you won't get hurt. Some kids get hurt. Some kid landed right against the pilings because he just came over and jumped. He didn't know what he was doing.
The jerks that fool around, get drunk and stuff, the ones that get hurt.
If you're cautious.
But if you take your time and you know what you're doing, you won't get hurt.
Yeah, you got to be very cautious.
If you don't drink alcohol.
In other words, you're saying don't ever do this when you're drinking.
Yeah,
Right,
don't do it when you're drinking or smoking
you're
dope
really gonna hurt yourself.
or snorting coke, or you'll really get messed up bad.
Frank Major agrees you'll really get messed up bad. And he's called the Boca Raton police many times, and they have responded. There's a local ordinance banning jumping from the bridge or swimming in the inlet. And according to Lieutenant Jerry Sullivan, many juveniles have been picked up and turned over to their parents. It appears that's where the real responsibility lies, since neither the police nor the bridge tender have been able to put a stop to this dangerous sport. Have you tried to talk to the kids?
It won't do any good. Sure, okay, mister, yeah, okay, mister, but forget it. 5 minutes, they'll be right back again.
That doesn't bother you? You don't worry about that?
It's life.
You know, it's one-shot gamble. Take it. You're only going to live once. One-shot gamble. Take it or leave it.
From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Another group of Haitian refugees arrived in South Palm Beach County early today. The 45 men and 10 women were spotted aboard this rickety sailboat near the Boca Raton Inlet shortly before 8 o'clock this morning. They were turned over to U.S. immigration officers who expressed mounting frustration over their ability to cope with the seemingly endless influx of immigrants coming ashore. The officers are even more disturbed over an order from the district director's office in Miami prohibiting them from airing their gripes before TV news cameras.
And, we would love to talk to the press, frankly, because I've got a lot of opinions on this.
One of those opinions include disagreement with health department officials who insist Haitian refugees are not carrying serious communicable diseases into the country. They argue this isn't true, calling attention to a fellow officer who just recently received a positive result from a tuberculosis test.
Let me just tell it to you. Okay. Okay. Because we're getting paranoid in the job.
Why? I'm curious. Why?
Because they told us not to do it, and we're subject to disciplinary action, talking to the press, except for no comment.
The officers admit morale is at an all-time low. Some are even asking to be transferred out of the area. They also say they have serious doubts that these Haitians are telling the truth about how long they've been at sea and where they came from.
Okay, they claim they left 10 days ago from Gonao, which is the island, the way that Haiti is set up. It's got an island in the bight. And they said, no problem, they came straight up here, but if you take a look at them, they have no excess clothes. The clothes they have on is all they have, and it's all neatly pressed. They have no salt residue on them. They have no food on the ship, on the boat. They have no razors, they're clean shaven, so they're lying.
Okay, so there was a mothership out there.
Either a mothership or they're towed in from Freeport. Now, sometimes the motherships will pick them up in Haiti. Sometimes the motherships will pick them up in Freeport or Bimini. Most probably Freeport because it's more busy and they can probably get away with it a lot better.
Exactly how the Haitians are being smuggled into the country is not the main issue. The bigger question is what will happen to them next. Maybe it's only conjecture on the part of one frustrated immigration officer who told us today, let's face it, nothing is going to happen to the Haitian refugees right now. This is an election year. You can bet none of them will be deported until after November. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Okay, it's okay now. No doubt it's the city's most famous landmark, the Boca Raton Hotel and Club, often referred to as the Pink Palace. Built in 1926, it stands today as one of Addison Meisner's greatest architectural achievements. Through the years, the pink stone and terracotta masterpiece has played host to royalty, heads of state, and luminaries from around the world. 11 years ago, the skyline of the city underwent a dramatic change when the Majestic Towers was built, adding 228 rooms and a rooftop glass-enclosed restaurant. And now, nearing completion, the newest extension, the Boca Beach Club, situated on the Boca Inlet and scheduled to open November 1st.
One of the interesting things about the site was that directly behind us is a hardwood area that was the home for about 10,000 red crabs. And before we could start building here on the site, we had to go out and capture most of those crabs and relocate them throughout South Florida because they're an endangered species.
In addition to all the amenities of a luxury five-star hotel, the new beach club will have a positive economic impact on the local community, creating hundreds of new jobs.
The new beach club will have 212 luxury rooms, 180 of which will be on water, that is, have a definite water view. We'll have one luxury continental gourmet dining room that seats about 200, and then our Cabana Club room, which will seat 300.
The new beach club will no doubt have a favorable economic impact on the community. For example, how many new jobs will be created?
We think about 350 new employees, and that will mean that the Boca Raton Hotel and Club will employ close to 1,400 employees. Economically, we feel that the average guest, other than hotel expenses, is spending somewhere around $40 to $50 a person per day in other items in the community.
Rates at the new $20 million Boca Beach Club will start at $200 a night during the season. And it's estimated the 1,600 guests who will visit the Boca Raton Hotel and Club each day will pump hundreds of thousands of dollars into the local economy each year. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. There's been a dramatic increase in the number of armed robberies committed in the South County. Delray Beach has recorded the biggest hike, an 86% increase this year over last. Here in Boca Raton, the figures are up 26%. Sergeant Mike Knoll of the Crime Prevention Bureau thinks he knows why.
But what we did, we presented that particular question to an armed robber that we caught, and we asked him, why do you commit armed robbery? And he explained it was the ease. It was quick money. It was easy to do.
So then you don't feel that the current economic conditions are a contributing factor?
I don't believe we have too many people out there stealing to feed their families.
Although there's no foolproof method to prevent robberies, Boca Raton police feel if you follow these tips, you can help reduce the chances of being a victim. Number one, keep visibility into the store at a maximum. Number two, be alert. Frequently look out into the parking area and check for people loitering or cars remaining. Number three, keep as little cash available as possible. Should a robbery occur, stay as calm as possible. Obey the robber's commands. Don't argue with him, fight with him. Don't use weapons against him or chase him. According to Sergeant Knoll, the police have a technical term to describe the person who tries to apprehend a criminal alone. The term is stupid. In a further effort to help cut down the number of armed robberies being committed here in the South County, the Boca Raton Police Department will sponsor a seminar next Monday night, July 28th at 7 o'clock at the Chamber of Commerce. From the South County Bureau, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. It's been a long wait, but it now appears the federal government is about to come through with a $1.5 million grant earmarked for the renovation of the Dixie Manor housing project. It's expected the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development will release the money on Friday, paving the way for major improvements to all 40 units.
The next step is for us to take our plans and specs, which our architects have already drawn up and completed, and submit those to the HUD architects for their approval.
How soon do you think bids will go out?
We are hoping that because we already have our plans and specs drawn, that we should be able to bid the project out in 45 to 60 days.
Is it possible at this point to come up with any kind of completion target date?
I would hate to try to state that we have a completion date. Our architect does believe that we ought to be able to complete the whole project within a year.
A federal ruling allows the city to provide interim housing during the renovation period.
I think this is great news. I was really hoping this could happen, and I'm glad the city and the state and other concerned people could get together and do this. I think the people are quite pleased. I'm quite pleased the decision has been made.
How long have you lived here?
I lived here 18 years now.
John Martin echoed the sentiments of all 24 families who live here in Dixie Manor when he heard the good news. After the major renovation is completed, any money left over will be used for site improvements, including a park and landscaping. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News. Taxes, beach erosion, a proposed South Inlet Park, expanded bus service. These were just some of the items on the agenda when Boca Raton City Council members sat down with Palm Beach County commissioners for a 2-hour joint workshop. Even though the two groups have never seen eye to eye in the past, it was generally agreed that today's session was a productive one. Another meeting has been planned for the near future to clean up some unfinished business.
And it's always good when city and county officials are talking to each other.
So you did have a meeting of the minds, in your opinion. If there was progress made in any one area, where was it?
Well, I'd say with parks and recreation matters, clearly we don't have enough money right now, either the city or the county, to meet all of the recreation needs of the future. We talked about possible ways of dealing with those problems, and I think it was very productive.
County Parks Director John Dance addressed the need for additional recreation facilities in South County. Under discussion is a park at South Inlet, another at Boca Rio, and a third near the corner of Military Trail and 51st Street. Also brought up for discussion today was a status report on the county's efforts to build a new general aviation airport here in the South County.
I met with the FAA Friday to update that status, and they're trimming the tasks and trying to get the cost areas down, and I would expect it's going to take another 60 days to complete a contract.
Has there been sufficient growth in general aviation here in the South County to warrant such an airport?
Yes, in the two previous studies accomplished by the state Florida Airport Systems Plan, there was sufficient need for general aviation facilities in South County. It's one of the fastest growing needs in our county. General aviation is about 6 times greater than commercial activity at Palm Beach International.
According to Cleveland, the new proposed facility will include the use of the present Boca Raton Airport, located just west of the Florida Atlantic University campus. From the South County Bureau in Boca Raton, I'm Eleanor Schano White, Channel 12 News.